to today's session, Beyond the Form, Making Grammar Instruction More Meaningful with Ingrid Alansagai. Really excited to have her here. Today's session will be interactive, so please be prepared to share your thoughts in the chat. We definitely encourage you to utilize the chat if you have contributions or questions to ask there. I'll be monitoring the chat for Ingrid today. And please be prepared to participate. We'll have a breakout session. So you'll have the opportunity to interact with fellow participants today. So please be prepared to do so. And with that, it is my pleasure to introduce Ingrid. Ingrid Alansagai is passionate about language learning and human development through education. She has taught English as a second language on 4 continents, ranging from business executives and university students to underserved communities. She has a master's in TESOL, development communication, and has certificates in CELTA and Delta from the University of Cambridge. And Ingrid, she is currently completing her 3rd master's at the University of Virginia, and she currently works with the Literacy Council. So with that, it's my pleasure to hand it over to Ingrid.
Okay, thank you so much, Stephanie. That was a very nice introduction, and thank you for taking the time to really pronounce my last name. I know it's not really easy, with all the different phonetic sounds in there from the usual English system. But thank you for doing that. Good afternoon, everyone. So again, thank you for taking the time to attend this workshop, and I hope that you will find it useful after the discussion. And as Stephanie has mentioned, this is going to be a very interactive type of presentation, and we have some activities for you at the end, and we hope that you try your hand at them. Okay, so without further ado, let me just share my slides. All right, there we go. Okay, so again, for today, we are going to focus on how we can make grammar structure more meaningful, as opposed to the traditional way of viewing it as something that is that's rule-based and full of memorized structures. So what do we hope? What do we hope for you? In this presentation. In this presentation, we hope for you to have more awareness of the different ways to teach form, or commonly known as grammar, and also for you to appreciate that grammar is not limited to form, and that teaching meaning and function is as inherently important as teaching the structures. So I'd like to start you with a question. I'd like you to think, how do you feel about grammar? Let's take a look at the 4 pictures here and tell me honestly how you feel about grammar, either as a teacher or as a student way back when you had to learn it. Can you relate more to the first picture, to the second picture, to the third one, or the fourth one?
Hi, my name is Miss Ortiz.
Hi, Miss Ortiz. Welcome.
I relate a lot to, I guess, the last one, the teaching. I could definitely relate to maybe number 2 with the people. Looks like a classroom with students, but definitely now that I'm a teacher, I can relate to the last one. I even have a more profound appreciation for the English grammar and English writing. Just because I'm teaching it, I just feel like grammar helps us to communicate more effectively, and this is what we're hoping our students to do as well.
Right, that's true. It's what we hope for in grammar. And thank you, Ms. Ortiz. And I can see here that a lot of you are pointing to the fourth one, probably thinking of you relating to it as a teacher, right? Like you have this board, and you point to the form and to the structure. Some of you are saying even the second picture And the third one, which if you notice here, are very collaborative. So pictures 3 and 4 shows a very collaborative type of learning. And this is what we hope, grammar structure to be. I'm glad that actually no one chose, oops, I'm so sorry about that, that no one actually chose the first picture. But I know some of us have felt this way probably when we were learning grammar when we were kids, or we probably seen or know some people who, who felt this way when it comes to grammar instruction. All right. So Tiffany said, yeah, she felt like one at times. Yeah, I did too. I love learning languages. And when I remember learning, when I was learning German, I had one teacher who would just present all the structures together. And sometimes I felt that way. So we hope that, you don't, this is what we are trying to avoid with grammar instruction. My second question to everyone is that, which words describe grammar teaching to you? So I have here 6 memory structures: active, passive, interactive, meaningful, and rules. Okay, Stacy said that when she follows the pace of a book. Interactive, meaningful. Interactive, right. Alan said interactive too. All right, wow, okay. Right, memorize, then interactive, right, that's possible too. Meaningful, interactive with emphasis on rules, right, active and rules. Okay, right, okay. I'm glad again that I hear a lot of you here, I see a lot of you here saying it, so, there's a lot of you have chosen interactive and meaningful as one way for you to view grammar. All right, so the traditional view of grammar instruction is boxed within the elements of memory structure, rules, and is a very passive part of the lesson, where the teacher tends to see their role as primarily one who is supposed to just transmit a body of information, in the hopes that the learners will absorb everything just by listening. So that's the traditional view of grammar. However, it's actually possible, as I can see some of you have written here, that grammar teaching can also be active, it can also be interactive, and it can also be meaningful. So it's not just boxed into the traditional thinking of, grammar, then we will have to memorize rules, we would have to memorize structures. As you will see, grammar doesn't have to be that way. Okay, so I would like you to think, okay, so as our teaching is hinged on objectives, I would like to ask you to think about your goal or goals when you teach grammar. So I have here 3 options for you. One is for students to know the structure of a grammatical point. Another one is for students to understand why we use structure. The third one is for students to understand when we use the structure. So I'd like you to think, what is it that you aim for when you teach grammar? Okay, I can see, okay, Judy saying B and C, Stacy saying C, and then A, All right, C and B, A and C. This must be C because English, there is no reason, right, A and C. Okay, Yolanda said, I believe all 3 are relevant. It helps for students to know when and why in order to do it. Never be, right, okay, because Stacey said never be because English grammar has so many exceptions, right? So it just can't always be always the second reason. Okay, so if you take a look at here, some of you said all 3. And If you chose all three, then that is the optimal way to view grammar instruction. So what do I mean by that? The first one actually is what we call form, while the second one, this one, pertains to the meaning inherent in a grammar point. And the third one is what we call function. And these are important because it's better for learners to have a better grounding of all elements of the language. If we look at how this of how this relates to linguistics, we can actually see that the first one, the structure, pertains to syntax, and the second one is what we call semantics, while the third one is what we call pragmatics. And all these three elements, what we call the syntax, the structure, the semantics, which is the meaning of a particular grammar point, and also when and how we use it, or what we call pragmatics. These are all elements, or these are what we call units of a language that learners need in order to fully understand a grammar point. Okay, so I would like to show you two types of grammar instruction again. So the first one here, if as you can see, the first one is where the teacher starts with presenting, probably naming the grammar point and showing the form. And then this is often followed by a bunch of grammar exercises. And then this one ends with a practice in speaking. The other approach is the teacher would present a grammar point in context, probably show it, how it's used in a particular text, either spoken or written. And after that, they would have the student unearth the meaning of the context. And the next one would be for the teacher to invite the students to discover the grammar by reference to the example as seen in the text. After all these three, would then the teacher go into what we call a controlled practice of a grammar point. So where there's a more interactive discussion between the teacher and the students. And after all of this, all four steps is when the students would actually get to produce a grammar point in a relevant context. So my question for you is, which plan do you use, the first one or the second one? All right, some of you are saying the second one. Yes, some of you are answering saying it's the first one. Right, a lot of you are saying it's the second one. Okay, the first one, Tyra said yes, it depends on the grammar point. Okay, so the first one, this is what we call grammar based, and the second one is what we call a meaning based. Okay, as you can see here, the students are given scaffolds to prepare them for in understanding the grammar point, rather than showing them, rather than immediately exposing them into the form or structure of the grammar. So in the meaning based one, students are given supports and helping them to see the meaning and understand how it's used in context, rather than show the structure in isolation, which is sometimes what happens in some grammar structure. So why teaching form is not enough? Why is it that why is it that it's not enough to just teach the structure when we teach grammar? So first, we have to understand that language development involves a continuing process of meaning making. That means a particular syntax has to make sense for the learner. Okay, so for example, why do we use a particular modal verb over another? And why do we use a definite article instead of the indefinite? Also, if you notice here, research studies have shown that knowing the structures alone doesn't really transfer to being able to use them correctly. So for example, if learners don't understand why it's better for them to use the present continuous to talk about the future rather than the modal verb will, then the structure would it would result into just a bunch of rules and forms for them, because they won't really be able to understand it. If you can see here, I'd like you to remember that being able to state grammar rules does not mean being able to actually use it. In order for declarative knowledge, in this case, the rules, to become procedural knowledge, in this case, for them to actually use it, both form and meaning should be present during grammar instruction. Okay, so I know some of you are probably thinking, okay, so now we know the rationale behind this, you know, this approach, but how do we achieve that? So I'd like to show you 3 ways that can help you link meaning and form, and at the same time make your instruction more interactive or dynamic. So one of those is what we call contextualization. The next one is what we call concept checking questions, or what I would call CCQs. And the last one is what we call elicitation. All right, so what do we mean by this? What is contextualization? So contextualization is when we show learners that the grammar point is more than just the structure. Okay. So we show them as how they're actually used in real communication. This is opposed to the usual style of presenting a structure without showing how it might look or be used in a written and spoken text. Usually, the grammar point is used as a standalone in standalone sentences. So the usual, what I've seen a lot is, you know, teachers showing this examples of the grammar point in discrete sentences. So they're isolated without showing how they might look in a particular situation. So in that way, if we actually contextualize the form first, if we show how they might be used in a particular context, you can even either show a written text or even let them hear something like a spoken text. Form is then connected to meaningful ideas and situations for the student. All right, so next we have what we call the concept checking questions, or CCQs. So what are they exactly? Okay, so CCQs, this is where we involve learners in meaning making or making sense of a grammar point. Since we invite or encourage learners to share their thoughts, this is a form of what we call elicitation. But in this case, we use questions to elicit answers from them. This way, you help your students tap into their mental lexicon or into their resources. If you do concept checking questions, it actually helps. It helps us to help our students to be more engaged. And again, as research studies have shown, inquiry-based and the logic-oriented instruction actually helps the student provide that, you know, it gives that context to the student that can actually foster language development. So the third one is what we call elicitation. So again, you might be thinking, what exactly is elicitation? Elicitation is, this is where the students it's similar to CCQs. The students are encouraged to elicit ideas and to build connections between what they know and what they are about to learn. So, you apply that constructivist approach to learning. And again, as we are actively involving our students in this, they are more cognitively engaged as opposed to the traditional passive way of learning grammar, wherein the teacher would present the form, probably even show a table and show them, okay, this is for, let's say, for the passive voice, you need to use the present tense and then the past participle. So rather than the teacher giving everything to the student, in this approach, you actually ask your student with the scaffolding to give you the answers to not only to the form but also to the meaning. Okay, so I know some of you are wanting to see some examples, and we are about to go into that. So what I'm going to do is, to help you see that better, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you 2 sample lessons on the same grammar point. In this case, the difference between present simple and present continuous. After each lesson, I would like you to check how you felt during the instruction. So I would like you to think, did I feel engaged? Was it interactive? Did it help me understand the semantic and pragmatic meaning, like why we use it and how we use it, right? And did the word wrote flash in your head? Okay, so these are the 3 questions I'd like you to think after you've seen the sample lesson, right? All right, so let's start here. So let's say we are going to talk about, as I've said, the difference between present simple and present continuous. So what I might do, let's say you're all my students, I'm your teacher. Okay, what I might do is I would probably start with showing this type of information to everyone. Okay, and I would probably ask one of you, my students, to read the difference between, so you can see here, the difference between the use of present continuous and the use of simple present, the use of simple present. After I ask one of you to read this little information here, I would probably proceed to explain the form. Like if you notice here, what are you doing? I'm watching TV. You use the be verb plus you use the present participle. It's a verb with the ing form. All right, so that's what might happen. And then to make it easier and to hope, in the hopes of reinforcing the idea to you, I might have you watch a video that looks something like this. So let me share this video.
You're on mute, Ingrid.
All right, okay. So I'm just going to mute myself to make sure that there's no echo. Let me just.
Present continuous and simple present. Unit 1, Lesson C. What are you doing now? What do you do every day? Watch and listen. Use present continuous for actions happening now.
What's she doing today?
She's playing soccer.
What's he doing right now?
He's eating ice cream.
What are you doing today?
I'm studying.
What are they doing today?
They're shopping.
Use simple present for actions happening regularly.
What does she do every afternoon?
She plays soccer.
What does he do every day?
Okay, I'm going to stop that because I think you get the idea of how this is going to end with this video. So let me just return to that slide. Hang on. Okay, so after this video, what I might do is, as a teacher, I might actually just have you do a grammar exercise like this, like a kind of gap fill exercise for you to fill in the, the missing words. And after that, I might ask you to have a speaking practice such as this one. I have here some prompts, and I would have you just, create sentences as these prompts, maybe provide a picture for that one. Okay, hang on. I can see some of you are actually familiar with this. And yes, that's right. This is from Ventures 2, published by Cambridge University Press. All right, so I have a question. Okay, I'd like you to remember how you felt about this lesson. So again, I started with just probably having one of my students to read the difference, the note here about the difference between the present continuous and the simple present. And then probably I would have a, an explanation of the form as seen here on the table. And then I would probably play that video to hopefully reinforce what I've just said to them about the form. And after that, I would have them do a gap fill exercise, again using the structure in a sentential level, and I would have them produce the language using prompts and probably with a picture. All right, now my question is, how did you feel about the lesson? All right, so again, I'd like you to think like you were the student. And did you feel engaged? Did you find it interactive? Did it help you understand why we use it? Did the word wrote flash in your head? Okay, not engaged, not interactive, didn't really understand. Okay, Alan said, What about the others? How did you feel about that? Right. So Yolanda said that it's actually quite engaging for her, but not so interactive, right? So because you have to read the examples, it's right there for you. But I mean, imagine yourself as a learner who's actually seeing this structure for the first time. Okay, just said, just no to everything. Right, yes, there was that part of maybe it helped you understand that by having you read why you use that, and also you saw that in the video. And maybe, maybe the idea of wrote, is it, did it, the thought of, is this like memorized structure? The last one wrote. Right, so some of you are saying that the video could is quite helpful, right? But the first chart is not. And Jill is saying, yes, it's she felt engaged. No, maybe, and sort of for the road. Okay, all right. Now let's try the same lesson again. Okay, so again, I'd like to imagine that all of you are my students, and I'm going to show you the difference between a present simple and versus present continuous. Okay, so rather than start with the structure of the grammar point, I might first give this text to you. What we would do is we would read it together and focus on unearthing the meaning of the text. So I would focus on this text, probably focusing on the like clues in there, or like what kind of text is this. And I might ask questions such as, who wrote the letter? To whom is the letter for? What is the email about? Okay. After we have, or after I made sure, okay, after I made sure that all of you are able to understand the text, I would then begin to focus everyone on specific points of the text. And I might ask the following questions. What is Chloe doing? Is she doing it now? How do you know? What phrase tell you that she's doing it now? And you might probably give me the answer at the moment or right now. And then I might also ask, is her brother helping her? What is he doing? And I might also ask, what word tells you that he's not helping her this Monday? So in doing this, what I might do is I would either ask for a choral response, or I would ask you to give me the answer individually. And I might also ask, for example, I could say, Jill, what's she doing now? And then I might ask Stacy, do you agree with that? Why so? Another way is, if I'm doing this in an online class, what I would do is post this on the Jamboard and put people in groups and have them discuss the answers to this question. Or if this is an in-person learning, I might give them copies of this text with the questions and put them in groups and have them discuss the answers together. Right? Right, Mariam, sorry, not Chloe, right? Okay, and then to reinforce, what I might do next is I might focus them on the sentences individually. And I would probably ask them to look at specific sentences. And then I would probably ask them questions such as this one. Is Mariam talking about actions that happens regularly or actions that are happening now? What words tell you this? I might also ask questions such as, how many verbs do we see in a sentence, in sentence 1? What are they? And what kind of verb is am? Right? If they say, okay, I see in sentence 1, I see two verbs. It's am and sitting, and then just to make sure that they actually know what they're talking about, you might want to ask, so what kind of verb is am? They will say it's a be verb. And then we can focus them on the second verb. We can ask, how do you form the second verb? And all 3 verbs, sitting, finding, and playing, ends with, to reinforce that, okay, this is something that ends with ing. And then you can start to focus on form. You might ask, so how do we form this structure? What did we, in sentence 1, what was the first word in there? What is that? What do we call it again? You say, oh, it's a subject. After the subject, what do we give next? You might say the verb to be, and then you could ask, and then after the verb to be, what follows the verb to be? And you can say the student might say the verb ing or the present participle. And then you can again focus them on the second sentence. You can say, you can repeat the same questions, but this time add so you add the time phrase plus you add the subject, and then that's when you introduce the concept. You say, okay, so this is what we call the present continuous, right? And what I might do is I might go through the same process for again for the present simple. So I'm going to show this text and have them answer these questions that focuses on the meaning of the present simple. Have it discussed amongst themselves, and again focus them in the examples where the grammar point is used, and ask the same questions such as, is Mariam talking about actions that happens regularly or actions that are happening now? And again, how many verbs do we see in sentence 1? You say just 1, and what is that gives? And then you can ask something like, is the subject in sentence 1 singular or plural? How did we form it? Did we add the letter? Did the verb give? And then you can go into the form again. So how did we form the sentence? So they can say again. So you have the subject in there, plus you put the present verb. All right. So once I'm sure that they have grasped this, what I might do is, again, so I might introduce, so this is what we call the present simple. So you see in this part, you actually have them focus on the meaning in the form first before giving the name of the structure. And then at the last part, what I would do is, if, you know, when I'm sure that everyone has an understanding of the meaning of why we use it and how we form it, what might help is, what I'm going to do is, I would have the learners synthesize everything that they've learned. I would give them this form, this table, and have them complete it again amongst themselves. Like I would put them in groups. So again, if you're teaching online, you can put this on a Jamboard and have them work on it. Or again, if you're in person, you can just, you know, simply give them a copy of this and have them complete the chart. What you can also do is, you know, you can even ask each group to compare their answers with one another before you do a whole class discussion. All right. After that, what you can do is you can have them do an activity like this. So rather than give them something that they see in a book, have them something where they can actually participate. So something like this, like a mime activity. This one will have them, you know, they will get to participate, and actually you tap into other modes of learning, like you just tap into kinesthetic type learning. And in this case, they would be able to authentically use the language better than following a prompt in a book. All right. So again, after this lesson, I would like you to think again. How did you feel about the lesson? Did you feel engaged? Did you find it interactive? How was it? Did it help you understand the semantic and pragmatic meaning of the structure? Like why do you use it, when you use it, and did the word wrote, again, did you feel like you were just memorizing things? Right, yeah, Judy said that no, yes, and yes, So she felt like she was more engaged in this one. It's more interactive, not rote, more interactive, realistic. Better for you. Perhaps a bit still simplistic. Yeah, it would. You're Jill. I understand what you're saying, and that's a good point. So what I'm thinking is, what you could do is, if you think, you know, to have some differentiation, if you think that for some learners this might be too simple for them, like for example, this is for this level, is usually for pre-intermediate or probably high beginning. But if you have really advanced ones, what you can do is you can alter the questions that you can ask to make it more challenging for them. Right, okay. Yeah, so I'm glad that a lot of you found this to be more engaging and that you didn't feel like you're just simply memorizing structures, right? Okay, so for the next part, I would like you to examine how we applied the 3 techniques. So how did we apply contextualization, concept checking questions, and elicitations to help our learners achieve an understanding of the form, meaning, and function? How did we do that? So for this one, for the first one, I would like you to think, what technique was applied here? What did we do? What did we do here? So here we presented the grammar into how it might be used without explicitly pointing to it. So we let them see how the grammar might look in a particular context, you know, in a particular situation, in particular authentic written text. What could that be? Yeah, Jill said contextualization. Linda says contextualization. If you're all thinking the same thing as Jill and Linda, you're correct, right? So this is what we call contextualization. Again, why? Because we help the learners see the grammar in a contextualized setting. Like they see how it's actually used before forcing them to just memorize to understand the structure. you know, because it's what we call in linguistics, we call that noticing. So you have that noticing part wherein the learners are actually subconsciously noticing the grammar point, and in a way it helps them understand how it is used, and how when we use the structure. Right, Linda said, yeah, it's very authentic. Thank you, Linda. Yes, so that's one of the things that we want. We want this to be. We want them to see examples of text that they might actually see and use in real life. Okay, so what about this second one? So in this second part, oh, it's right there. I'm sorry, I did not put it away. Which techniques were applied here? But if you notice, there's another one in here. Okay, it's not just a CCQs. I'm sorry about that. So here again, let's see, what did we do in here? So here we have them again see the grammar as used in a context, and then we have them understand how it's used, why we're using it, the meaning behind it, by asking questions. So this one combines contextualization and CCQs. Okay, what about this one? What did we do in here? So again, here, if you notice, this is when we actually isolate the sentences. We see them in sentential level because it helps them focus rather than seeing them in a paragraph level. And in this case, we have them unearth both form and meaning using questions. So again, this is what we call another, as you can guess, this is what we call another CCQ. All right. What about when we have them? Yes, that's right. Hijayu, yeah. So these are examples of CCQs. So the last one in here, what did we do in here? So we have them synthesize everything, like everything that we discussed, that has been discussed, and we have them complete the table. What are we doing in here? So we showed here the function. We use this when we talk about actions that happen regularly. So what might they put here, and if they can put the form in there. Right. Okay. Yes. Linda said this one is what we call elicitation, right? Because we are asking them to complete something rather than which we teachers tend to do is that when you feel that they have everything, we just again present the form and tell them, okay, so remember this is how we do it. Like we use present simple for this one, we use present continuous for this one, and this is how you form it. So to make that more interactive and to make sure that you're really engaging your learners cognitively, what you can do is have them do it themselves. And again, it would be more engaging for them if you have them do it with their partners. And after that, have them compare their answers with probably another couple or another group. All right. So what about the last one? What did we do here in the last part? Oh, hang on. I have a very good question in here from Jill. Jill said, wouldn't elicitation apply more to saying the sentences correctly in context? Yes, that's elicitation too, Jill, but in terms of the production phase. So you're doing, in this case, what we did a while ago. Thank you for that question, Jill. That's very good. Just to clarify, what you're doing here, this is still eliciting, but you are eliciting this is part of the presentation. So rather than presenting everything to them before having them produce the language, which is of course elicitation, you elicit the concept to them from them. So you elicit all the ideas, and this is the opposite of where most, some teachers would present the table and show them everything, like just give them the form, the meaning, the function of a particular grammar, like what you've seen a while ago with the chart, right? So everything is there. So rather than have them do that, so you can elicit the function, the meaning, and the form. So while you have them, of course, elicit during the production phase of the lesson, you can also have them elicit. You can also elicit ideas from them during the presentation. And I think that's what I want to really focus on in here, is that the presentation part and the practice part of a grammar instruction is not just, it doesn't have to be very passive. It doesn't have to be just a teacher transmitting a body of information to the students. It can be a more interactive, dialogic approach, right? Wherein you are having them, you're eliciting ideas from them, and you're actually helping them think about the concept or the grammatical structure. Okay, so in this one, again, in the production phase, right? So we ask them to produce the language, but we, rather than just give it to them in sentences, like as compared to what you've seen a while ago with the first lesson we're in. Okay, so here are gap fill sentences, complete that form, right? So in this one, you're actually again contextualizing the structure of the grammar. Okay, so does anyone have any questions about this before we move forward? All right, so if not, and so I would like to show you more ways that you can actually apply the 3 techniques, right? So one is, if you want, you can also use storyboards. So just this one, okay? If you're interested, this is from English file, and you can, I'd like you to you can think, which of the 3 techniques are we applying? If we put storyboards, what techniques can we apply for these storyboards, right? So in this case, it's what contextualization, because you're actually, again, you're going to contextualize the language, the structure, as how it's used in a particular situation. I would like to ask everyone, what grammar points can we teach here? What do you think? What are possible grammar points that you can teach for this one, for the storyboard? Present tense, yes, that's right. So you can use present tense for that one. So other possibilities are, you can also use transitions, imperatives, right? Yeah, why not, right? As you can see here, like what is the boss saying to the character? Okay, so present continuous, sure, why not? Yes, present continuous, that's correct. So there's like a multitude of possibilities just by having one storyboard. Like you can go into, as you said, a lot of you said imperatives, present continuous, even you can use transitions, right, to teach transitions, and then first, beginning, last. You can also use simple past, like this could be a story of someone, and you can also focus them on adjectives or even adverbs. Okay, so this can be a very powerful tool for you to use. Again, so it helps contextualize this particular language. You can either read something and have them listen to it, so you're presenting the particular language, in a spoken text, so you get to practice their listening skills. Or you can provide for them a short story, or you can even have them work up a story about this pictures. Right, subject verb agreement, that's true. Okay, another way that you can apply the techniques is by using dialogues. Okay, so you can also use dialogues to teach, to show how it might be used. So again, I'd like to think, which of the 3 techniques are we applying here? And I think I can make this clearer. Oops. So if you notice here, so there's a picture of this woman, and she's saying, I want to buy a house, but I don't have any money for the down payment. What should I do? And there's this dialogue between Jose and Cho. And, you know, in here, you put this out and ask which one have the students work out. Which one is talking about the possibility, a possible solution to Anna's problem? Which one is telling Anna what to do? Yeah. So the grammar point is, yeah, definitely could and should. That's right. And for this one, you're actually doing, a CCQ because you're asking questions. All right. Another way is you can also use examples. So for example, this is something that I did for, this is also one of the things that I did for, you know, for teaching my higher intermediate, the difference between the articles, right? Because in the, you know, in the lower one, you stop at, you know, you look at the consonant or the vowel, the first letter of the succeeding word. But for them to understand the pragmatics or the semantic use of it. So another way is you can use examples. So you show them in a context first, and then you focus them on that, and you put the rules here. Can someone tell me what technique did we use in here? Did we use contextualization? Did we use CCQs? Did we use elicitation? So what would they do? They would, what the students would do is they would pair, they would categorize the rules in this one. So this one is, this is what we call, what we did is elicitation, right? So you elicited the rules from the student. So again, rather than presenting everything to them in a PowerPoint saying, okay, you use the for when we talk about something that we've already mentioned, and then we use the indefinite a or an if we're saying something for the first time, if we're mentioning something for the first time, right? So rather than present them to them, have them categorize the use of the grammatical point. Okay, one of the, you know, when I present, when I teach about these techniques, one of the common questions that I get is sometimes teachers ask, so should I always follow, do we have to follow a particular sequence? So does it always have to be contextualization and then followed by CCQs and then elicitation? This is a common question that I get. So to answer, I would show you something and then you tell me, do we have to follow this sequence or not? All right. So let's say I'm going to teach my students the modal verb will and how it's used in the future tense. So what I would do is I'll probably show this situation to them. All right. I will ask, I will show them that, you know, imagine that your friend Abinet from Ethiopia is visiting Maryland in August. What do you say to her? So I'll have them choose the best answer in here, you know, with the context. This is August, so this is summer. So what is the most realistic thing that you can tell your friend? And then this would then be followed by having them choose the correct meaning in here. So after we've talked about this, I would ask them, so I'd like you to look at sentences A to G and tell me what is it doing? What is it talking about? Is it talking about things that you plan to do? Is it talking about things you expect to happen? Or is it talking about things that you want to happen, right? So again, they will have to choose between the choices here. And then once we establish that, what I would do is I would then focus them on the form by asking this question. So what does it'll mean in it'll be hot? What does won't mean in you won't be able to find a hotel? What's the form of verb after will? To focus them on the infinitive of that, in the infinitive form. All right. So if you notice here, again, the question a while ago was, do we have to follow a sequence of contextualization, CCQs, and elicitation? So in this sample, what do you think is the answer? Did we have to follow that particular sequence? Does it always have to be that way? So again, what we did here is you show them this one first, and then you have them figure out why and when we use the form, and then you focus them on the structure. So in this case, we did a contextualization, and then we did contextualization, and then we did elicitation, and then we did CCQs. So that means that you always start with contextualization, but you can alter between. You could either do the elicitation first before you do the CCQs, or like similar to the previous example with the lesson, you can start with the CCQs and then followed by an elicitation. So it depends on how or where you want to use the techniques, but it doesn't have to follow that sequence of contextualization, CCQs, and elicitation. But it makes sense to you should always first contextualize the form. All right, so I think that's it for the presentation. I would like this is the part wherein you get to try your hand on this. What we're going to do is we're going to put in groups, and I have here. Okay, you can take a look at the storyboard, and I'd like you to try to craft like what particular concept checking questions might you ask. Okay, so you can choose a grammar point that you want and try to think of 3 concept checking questions that you might ask the students to help them establish either the form or the meaning and use of the grammar point. Okay, so I think we have 10 minutes might be enough for that, or maybe 5 minutes. We'll give them 5 minutes. Tiffany, what do you think? Because it's 2 o'clock. So
are you just going to do this one slide? Because the presentation that I'll be sharing has a couple slides.
Right. I'm thinking we would try this one first, and then after that we might we can, if you have enough time, we can do the next one.
Okay, sounds good. Then I think 7 to 10 minutes would be fine.
Right. So yes, we're going to put in groups, and Tiffany, I think we'll share the link.
Yes, so I'm sharing the link in the chat now. It's going to go to a Google Doc presentation. So if you could focus your attention on, and I'm just going to check and see what slide number this is. Okay, so if you can focus your attention on the 3rd slide, which is the same slide as Ingrid has posted currently on the screen. And then I'm going to pause the recording.
All right. Hang on. Okay. Let me just share that screen again. Is everyone back? I think so. All right. Okay. I would say that I was able to visit rooms 1, 2, and 3. I didn't interrupt room 1 because they had a really great session going on in there. I heard a lot of very good examples of CCQs. One of the rooms also had a very good question for me. They asked is, do we use the grammar point in asking the CCQs? So that was a very good question asked by, I think, group 3, I think. And that's a very good question, because as much as possible, you don't want to use that yet. But if you could find another way to ask that particular question that you want to ask without using the grammar point, that would be the optimal way to go. Okay, so I think we are ready to share. So who would like to share first? Anyone? I guess let's start with group 1 then. Group one, would you like to share to everyone what the grammar, what your grammar point was and the CCQs that you might ask your students?
Okay, so I'll speak on behalf of Group 1. We use the present continuous tense. We have our CCQs as, if you're looking at the slides 1 through 4, where is Claire working? Backstory, we kind of thought that she was working a job she didn't like in an office. Then she got fired. She was looking for jobs, and then she realized that she could have her own business. She went to the bank, started baking cakes and, now advertising to be, her own entrepreneur baking cakes. So the number 2, what is she looking for? So that's particularly for slide 5. So they can say she is looking for a new job as an example for the answer. Number 3, what is she hoping for? So, and like slide 6 and 7, an answer could be, this is when she decides with the new job, being the baker. So the answer could be, she is hoping for a new business. And then we were working on our elicitation, and when we would revert back to the answers, we would say, how are all of the answers the same? So they would have the continuous verb with the ing, or what had. And then what we were looking at last is, what is Claire doing today?
Awesome. That sounds really good. Thank you, Group 1. I especially like, when you focus them on the form and you ask what do these sentences have in common, and then you have them figure that out, that yes, they all end in ing. Okay, thank you, Group 1. Well done. Yes, I did interrupt you because when I went there, I just heard this fantastic conversation going on between all of you. So well done. Okay, thank you, Yolanda. Who would like, maybe let's go to the Group 6. Who would like to share? Anyone from Group 6 would like to share? Let's jump to the last group. We're going to alternate between the first and the last. Anyone from Group 6?
Sorry, we don't know what group we are.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's the same room number. So if you were in room 6, you'd be Group 6. So anyone from room 6? Okay. All right. So let's go to room 5. Anyone from room 5? Okay, we're all right. Let's go to room 4. Anyone would like to share? Anyone from room 4? I can't see them.
I think we were room 4. I'm not sure.
Okay, sure. But go ahead if you want to share what you've discussed with your partners, Jill.
We had a lot of ideas that were similar to what we just heard, although we were less well formed, I think, in our questions. We thought we would use this storyboard to present the present continuous tense, but it's really hard to ask questions without using the present continuous tense, and it sounds kind of stilted. So I'm not sure we succeeded in that part of it, but to ask questions about what is happening maybe in some of the pictures specifically. We weren't talking about the specifics of each picture, but ask a question to elicit maybe what the connections are between each picture. Why do things happen in each picture? Also questions about the timing of things, like which things happened first, which things happened next. Again, just questions about the connections or, the ordering.
Right. And thank you, Jill. I think those are very good ideas too, right? So having them, see the links between the pictures here would give them that context or idea of what's going on in the picture and what's really happening in there. So that's a very good start. I think that's your group did well too, because you were able to tap into a particular context that's actually very important in this storyboard, and you can create ideas from there. You can even ask them, let's try to create a story, because what you can do, this sounds very much like a task-based learning, because you have them do something first and they will realize what language they need to express that idea. And that's when you can introduce the present continuous. So what you did just there, I see that as a more of a task-based structure, which works very well too for application of these three techniques. Okay, thank you, Jill. Well done, room 4. All right, what about room? Let's go back up to the top. Room 2. Anyone from room 2?
All right. Sorry, Ingrid. So I just went ahead and posted what we came up with in whatever group we were. That's to actually phrase it in a way that the students would understand. I'm teaching high beginner level, by the way, right now. So this is when is this happening? And number 2 is what verb tense is used here. And 3 is how would the verbs change if this happened in the past, so they can contrast the present with the past. That's as good as we could come up with the concepts, not explicitly saying, the grammar points.
Right. Thank you, Josh, and thank you for writing it there as well, so everyone can see it. I think if you're saying that you're in that high beginning, but usually by this level, the students would have been taught the basic structures of the present continuous, right? But without the particular focus on the dominant function. So I think these questions here are also great questions, and what I like here is that you have them contrast or compare that to another grammar point, because having them see the differences between verb tenses actually helps build that awareness, and it helps them go into that next level too. Like, okay, so if I'm describing something that this person is doing now, so they're probably thinking this in their home language, not they're doing now. If I'm describing something that what the person is doing now, and how might I say that in the past? What's the difference? And I like that you focus them here, like what verb tense is used here. And I would suggest you can also add, so what's the difference in the form? What differences in the form can you see when you want to describe this in the past and when you want to describe this in the present continuous? All right. So I think
Thank you.
Right. So I think these are also good starts to CCQs. So I would say well done. Thank you, room 3. Everyone is doing so well so far. Okay, and last but not the least, let's have room 2.
So we looked at it as to what we could do for a beginner level class. And what we'd struck on was doing vocabulary. So first ask, what things or people do you see in picture 1, and go through all of the frames. And then go back and ask them, what colors do you see? And then ask them to associate the color with the object or person. So you would have green chair, pink apron. And then if we could get to the point of asking them, can you list all of the things that are people, places, or things, and then the descriptions, and then use that to teach nouns and adjectives.
Right. Thank you, Judy. That sounds like a good idea too. So you're using, it's a good way to use these pictures as a springboard to help, focus them on the idea of adjectives. What I like is that you really focus them on the visuals. What I might suggest is that you can also ask something to help them understand that, these are examples of adjectives, but so what are we using adjectives for example? So are we using it to, are we describing the action that she's doing, or are we describing, what she's wearing? Are we describing the person, the table, the chairs, for example, the room? So in that sense, you give them this idea that, okay, so adjectives, we use this to describe nouns, right? So something like that. So again, Judy, these are, these are very good ideas, like focusing them, especially for beginners, to have them, see how adjectives might look in a context. So I think, well done too. But that's the only suggestion. Maybe you might ask them that particular question. Like, so are we talking about something like the things, the people, or are we describing actions? To just get them that idea of the function of adjectives. All right. I just see that Tiffany said that we are. I think that's it. We are. We have 1 minute left. So again, thank you, everyone. I'm not sure. So do we have time for Q&As? I guess
we don't. We're actually going to close out. We want to honor everyone and make sure we close out on time.
All right. All right. So again,
people
thank
have
you,
questions.
Everyone.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I just want to say again, thank you, everyone. I hope you found this workshop useful and something new for you. Hang on, I just want to show this one. So if you're interested to research this further, you can, look at these books. These are, you have a lot of research in there that talks about the concept of these 3 techniques. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me either on my work email or my school email. That's
Thank
it.
you so much. Yes,
I have a quick question.
Can I pause you? I'm so sorry. Can you
I'm
pause
sorry.
for just 1 second, and then we'll answer questions. I want to make sure we cover the last 2 important bits, and then we'll hang around for a few more minutes for additional questions. Thank you for your understanding. So thank you again, Ingrid, for today's session. If everyone could join me in a round of applause or a virtual clap or whatever you'd like, we really appreciate this. Please take 3 minutes to complete the survey. It's really important to us to get your feedback about your experience today and how we can continue to provide meaningful instructor workshops to you that meet the needs of what you have as an instructor now teaching in your classroom. Also, it's a new concept, so if it hasn't all sunk in for you yet, that is okay. We will be sharing the presentation and slides, and we recorded today's session, which will be up on our YouTube channel within the next week. So I'll be sending a follow-up email with all the information that you need and a link to our upcoming December instructor workshop. So thank you all for joining here today. You can unmute and say so long. If you have additional questions, we have a few minutes, or at least I do, that we can answer those questions for you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ingrid.
Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Linda. Thank you for attending.